If time is your excuse, you're probably lacking energy. There's so many different benefits to movement that go far beyond helping you look good and weigh a certain weight. Movement shifts mood.
I think everyone struggles with either overeating or being tempted by more delicious food.
You have a piece of that cake and then the world just seems like a better place.
You have to align your food management system to your lifestyle, no one else's. Place more value on the benefits of eating good food.
In the Middle East, majority of the men at that peak in their career are quite physically unfit.
I see someone's plate and I see their physique and it adds up.
The biggest problem I see is all or nothing mentality. The biggest culprit of self-sabotage. It becomes emotionally and mentally exhausting to sustain that energy and that intensity, even with work, if you're not looking after yourself. Because we all get older.
If you're doing fantastic in your career, a high performer, but really stressed, most likely you're out of shape and low on energy. Today we have Kirk with us, who is going to show you what habits you need to change daily in order to improve this. Did you work out today?
I did a 30-minute session.
Optimal? Usually 30 minutes?
No, this year's been a little bit different with training for a number of reasons. I became a father.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, congratulations.
Thank you so much. I've got a beautiful little princess called Gigi, which has definitely made a change in dynamic of my routine. Alongside that, I'm unfortunately bone on bone on my hip at the minute. So I have trained longer in the past. Sometimes I do train longer.
Okay.
But the key thing is we can impact today is having some minimum non-negotiables that even on a very busy week or when stuff's going on, what do you do to look after yourself?
And you're working mostly with high-performing men that are doing very well in their careers. And we're talking about non-negotiables because a lot of time you hear from these individuals that they don't have time. So they have to sacrifice something, right? And so what do you advise them on what to do with a non-negotiable? What is a non-negotiable?
Firstly, if time is your excuse or reason why you are not, for example, getting a workout in, you're probably lacking energy. And by lacking energy, you're not going to be able to optimize the time you do have. Identify first that having energy is a value and what is it costing you not finding time to implement the habit of training to increase your energy.
I mean, it's chicken and egg, right? If you train, I find that I have more energy throughout the day.
Yes, absolutely. And movement shifts mood. A lot of the time when it comes to optimizing focus in work environments or trying to bring a better you to your relationship with your children after work, that's going to come down to the mood you are in. And there's so many different benefits to movement that go far beyond helping you look good and weigh a certain weight, especially when you're trying to perform consistently well over a day, a week, month, extended periods of month in business, and also the person you're trying to go home to in your personal relationships, which is what it's all about, really.
The movement shifts mood really resonated with me. And I spoke to you about when I was hiring, that was on my non-negotiables. I'm like, this person needs to be working out. Because I think it definitely affects and trickles into the workplace in terms of what they're doing. Yep. What about you, Osama? Did you work out today?
I did.
You did?
Yes.
What did you do? You look buff. That shoulders and chest is. No. Actually, I should be taking tips off you then.
I always do opposing muscles. I can't do the whole today's push day and pull day and.
So when you say opposing muscles, like give me an example.
So I'll do chest and back the same day.
I did that this morning.
Okay.
So that's all I did.
There you
right.
go.
Okay.
So
so chest and back is a big day for me. If I just start doing push, I'll be gone by the third exercise or the fourth, and then the rest will just be compromised movements.
It's significantly more efficient. I'm 41 now and I've been training for 26, 27 years. You know, I first went in the gym at 15 and there's not many different training protocols that I haven't done. And time, as we come back to, is a challenge. And you're looking at your calendar going, I've got work, I've got my relationship to think about, meetings to think about, my kids, where do I squeeze in this time? In my opinion, full body training or pairing muscle groups the way you've just suggested, you should do that to have a significant bigger return on investment of your time and effort, without question.
Working with these high-performing individuals, or men specifically, in the Middle East, majority of the men I see are quite physically unfit, that are at that peak kind of in their career. Why do you think that is the case?
Great question. And I'm not judging here because we've all been stuck. And if you are that person that is performing well in business, but you're drastically falling short with your own health, your own energy, and you just know your personal standards, the likelihood is you haven't really broken down the value of being fit and healthy and energized. Ultimately, we generally fill our week up and our priorities up with the things we value and the things we think are going to give us a return on investment of our time. That's why we keep doing it. That's why many people, they run a business or they work within a business, they're always going to show up, even when they don't feel like it. They keep doing it because they're fully aware if they don't make money, they're not going to live with freedom or be able to provide for those they love. We need to go back to basics with our purpose. What is my vision in life? It sounds a bit deep. You might be thinking.
No, I'm all for deep and identity and
okay.
purpose.
Most people who run a business, one of their highest values is making money and live with freedom, and they probably value business. That's why they keep doing it.
Is that you, Osama? Would you say that's high on your priority?
Absolutely. If you're coming from a Middle East subcontinent, so anyone from these countries, we grow up with this mentality that the number one thing is to provide for your family, right? For most of us, we're not coming from countries where you would have a welfare state. So this means that if you want to enjoy the luxuries that we do, you need to keep working, and that needs to be your number one priority. Even quality education and quality healthcare, which might be a given in, let's say, in Europe, it's not a given if we were to, go back to our countries. So you go into survival mechanism.
I get it.
And survival is, I need to do well at my job, whatever time I could find that's not with the family, I can reinvest that into my job. And unfortunately, what that means is gym goes out the window. Even more challenging for someone like yourself is if this person has now reached the C-level position, how do you convince them that you need more energy? Because he would be thinking, or he or she would be thinking, I got to this level without really gymming.
Good question.
They're great questions.
So how do I?
So first and foremost, if I am having to overly convince someone that they need more energy, you're probably not ready to change. And I'm not going to convince you to do something that you can't see the value of. You can't force someone to do something.
Yeah.
All I would play devil's advocate with that is if someone has achieved a great level of status and wealth, not exercising, not training, not eating well, not paying attention to their sleep or their emotional regulation, I would challenge you to consider how much more success you probably could have achieved if you factored in some movement, eating a little bit better than what you currently do, sleeping a little bit better than what you currently do, basically looking after yourself a little bit better. Because I can totally resonate when you've come from a world where it was installed in you, work hard, and earn your money and all that. I'm all for that. But what I would say, having coached so many people who've come from that world, because a large part of our demographic within Built to Last, look, Vibratrack's tribe, right? They probably resonate with my story in some way of starting with nothing and you built up, and it becomes emotionally and mentally exhausting to sustain that energy and that intensity, even with work, if you're not looking after yourself, because we all get older. I've seen so many people who have spent years accumulating that wealth. So they want to provide for their family, to do and buy nice things, then get to the pinnacle of that career where they've got all that money, but they're a physical mess.
Yeah.
They can't move well. They're struggling to get out of their chairs. They can't pick their grandkids up. So there's different metrics of freedom, right? I want to be financially free, be able to provide for my little girl, but I also want to lead the way, as do many of our clients, on, okay, what does emotional freedom look like? Physical freedom. Because if you can't move, and I worked with a guy who sold his company last year for nearly 200 million. He's 55, he struggles to get out of bed.
Yeah.
Go back to your purpose. What is your vision in life? What are your values? What is the emotional driving force? What's your why? Who are you doing all this for? And on the flip side, if you might be an entrepreneur who resonates more with the pain of not doing something, what are the consequences on your life? Or what are the opportunities you're missing out on because you're not looking after yourself? That's the first port of call, because you're going to have the best plan in the world. How many people have had the best plan, or they've had a structured plan, they've had the diet plan, they've had the training plan, they know they need to get the steps in.
Not everyone.
Sleep, get the water, but they don't follow through.
I think everyone fails. I think everyone's failed, and it's a cycle. It's like rinse and repeat, to be very honest. I've gone through it.
Yeah.
You think that this 6-week program or this 3-month program or this 6-month program is what you need to do. Then you reach the end date And then you're like, oh gosh, what's next? What's my purpose? Because now I've achieved it for either the summer holiday or a competition or whatever it might be.
It's surface level. And the problem with that, as much as I, like you and many of my clients have, to have these short-term milestones and significant moments, whether it's a wedding, a photo shoot, a marathon run, or just an occasion where you wanted to look and feel good. Yes, these are great to provide that intensity and acceleration perhaps towards that certain milestone. But ultimately, and I'm sure a lot of entrepreneurs will resonate with this, as you mature in business and as a person, you're trying to develop as a person to be totally content with who you are, the life you have, the business you have, the relationships you have, the family you have. And that all comes down to your identity. Mm-hmm. When it's all said and done, are you 100% happy with who you are as a person? And if you're not, there are absolutely things you can do to improve how you look, how you feel, and by default, it'll improve how you perform.
So there's obviously the whole getting exercise in, weight training, cardio, but how important is the nutrition side of things?
If you physically don't like how you look, how you feel, what you weigh, or basically the external or the internal metric that you measure your physical health and emotional health on, and you're ticking all these other boxes, and your food isn't on point, then that's the thing you might need to consider to address. Place more value on the benefits of eating good food that go far, far beyond helping you look good or weigh a certain metric.
But let's be honest, Kirk, food's hard. I know a lot of athletes, they'll eat to fuel, right? And I have some friends that just have that mentality and they'll stop at 100 grams of chicken. I'm just like, no, eat the other chicken breast. It's there. Yeah. That whole macro conversation, I used to be deep into that. I don't do that.
It's not important, by the way.
It's not important. But eating well is difficult because it means different things to everyone. So what would be the first point of advice you would tell someone when you say eat well? What would you change?
Again, this is only going to resonate with people who would like to eat well, but they don't know how, or they don't want to give up something.
I think everyone wants to eat well. I don't know anyone that doesn't want to eat well. I think everyone struggles with either overeating or being tempted by more delicious food.
No, I get it.
Resisting urges, right?
I get it, yes. There's so many different things that can influence someone's eating, your emotional state, because that drives your decisions, right? You generally eat your feelings, the physical environment you're in, the people you are connected to. Okay, everyone wants to feel good and they value energy. Firstly, you need to evaluate how much are you actually eating right now, right? And there's a couple of different ways of doing this. One is tracking calories, fixed meal plan, habits and guidelines, and then outsourcing food. Now, I know universally the easiest way is to track calories. From my experience, people in Dubai and major cities, they don't want to do it.
No one wants to do it.
They might do it for 3 or 4 days. It's not practical.
Yeah.
You do need to have some form of yardstick, just like in business, of what am I currently doing versus what I need to do to move me towards where I want to be, right? Ultimately, the end KPI of whether or not someone is eating too much food, would you agree, is if they're eating too much food, they're going to be increasing weight. If they're eating a maintenance amount of calories, they're going to be holding weight. If they're eating less food than they're burning off, they're going to be losing weight. If you don't take pictures or track your calories, you're relying on hope to know what to do for the following week. So if you are someone who eats really, really healthy and you're scratching your head going, well, you're eating too much volume, even if your food is great quality. Something like avocado, nuts, olive oil.
That was me. Avocado on toast. It was like a thing in Australia.
Yeah.
Until I was eating. I was like, I wasn't
I get it. So that's really good food. But for most people, it's likely to be something sugary, processed, or alcohol, something which is very hyper palatable, very easy to consume.
Yeah, I do that with crisps.
Yes. And senior level executives, they're constantly traveling. They have meetings where there's snacks being ordered and it's usually unhealthy stuff. What do you advise to those people? Because they say that, look, when I'm in Dubai, when I'm not traveling, when I'm in my base station, I'm trying to eat healthy, and then I go traveling, and then it all goes to...
You basically just described like 90% of the Built to Last clients where
so
they come to us and they say, when I've got routine, when I'm at home, when I can have total control of my environment, then I can eat well, train well, get my steps in. Let's be real here. Even if someone didn't travel for weeks or months across a calendar year, they haven't got a clue how to manage their weekends. There's 52 weekends in a year.
Right.
That's 104 days. That's nearly a third of a year.
A third of the year.
Then you chuck on birthdays, celebrations, weddings, travel, business meetings. There aren't many high performers, people in high power positions with a lot of demands, people to look after, people to lead, that don't face the challenge of at least a third to a half of a year where they cannot have this normal routine.
Yep.
The biggest problem I see, and I think this is what you were getting at, in a lot of entrepreneurs and business owners who travel, is they have an all or nothing mentality. All or nothing mentality is without question the biggest culprit of self-sabotage and why people consistently yo-yo with their weight, their shape, and by default, their energy, confidence, and mood.
So I want to go to outsourcing food because that's ordering online. I'm assuming that's what you mean.
Ordering online.
Majority.
Even eating on the go technically is outsourcing.
Okay, but let's talk about ordering online.
Yes.
What's one habit people have to change when they're ordering on Deliveroo? Because a lot of the time it's add-on and it's engineered to make you choose more.
So I'm firstly going through a process of how can I get my protein, my carbs, my fats? Is it real food? And then in terms of how much you order, that totally depends on what you've eaten for the rest of the day and the overall picture of your week.
The rest of the day, because most people are busy and they don't eat.
Yeah. So
which is very problematic.
It's a strong recommendation for anyone in Dubai who is currently out of shape and they eat out at restaurants regularly or they order in from Deliveroo regularly. I would generally leave at least 40 to 50% of my calorie threshold or food volume, whatever you want to call it, for the evening. Most people who overeat, drink or both, self-sabotage, emotionally eat in the evening. They do so in the evening. Why? Willpower's gone. They're stressed after work or they're feeling great after work. So either way, they want to get their fix from food, okay? And most people can't control that. But if you can just allow more buffer for calories in the evening.
So this is the other thing. I mean, I don't know if it's a myth or not, but there, people have been talking about why you should not be eating in the evenings. They still end up doing it because of all the reasons you just mentioned. But then they're like, okay, let me have a big breakfast and then let me have a, medium sort of lunch and then try to go easy in the evening, which eventually doesn't happen. But the idea being that I'm going to eat all this food and then I'm going to go to sleep and then it's just going to go straight into stores of fat around the belly.
You just said it there. There's one thing some guru's saying, don't eat after 6 because you're going to put on more weight. You have to align your food management system to your lifestyle, no one else's. So if the mornings are super busy for you, whether it's due to training, seeing your kids, time with your missus, or you've got to be in work early, why are you trying to squeeze in loads of calories, which, let's be real here, you're not even registering them as you eat them. You're probably rushing it, so you're not even enjoying food.
That's
and we're
true.
supposed to enjoy
That's true,
food,
yes.
right? I did that years ago. Most important meal of the day was breakfast. And I preached this many, many years ago. So I hold my hands up knowing what I know now.
And you won't break down muscle if you go to if you train without breakfast. Would you?
Nonsense in my opinion.
Okay.
Listen, there might be a big jacked up bodybuilder who preaches otherwise.
Yeah.
So don't try and do what the bodybuilders preach because you're not a bodybuilder. You're an entrepreneur who's in a relationship with children likely, and you've got people to lead and you've got things to do. And also, if you think about a place like Dubai, most people are eating out regularly. They're ordering in regularly. It's very hard to get change out of 500 calories for a decent evening meal when you're out. Most people, let's be real here, they're going to order at least 800 to 1,000 calories.
Easily.
Okay, hear me out. And most people who are struggling with their weight should probably be on around 2,000, 2,200 calories max.
Yes.
Would you agree if you are eating a massive breakfast in the morning? That maths doesn't add up.
Yes.
And guess where that hits you? In your belly and on the scales. And then by default, how you feel, okay?
So no burgers, no wraps, no pizza.
I mean, look, there's nothing wrong with that again. And I'm just saying, like,
because that's what people do. I mean, generally, I see someone's plate and I see their physique, and it adds up. And so
the master don't like. Listen. We're all of business here, right? Let's be real here. I assume everyone listening to this loves business, and they're working towards outcomes and targets and goals. There is a process that makes that happen. I'm pretty sure you measure your process and the KPIs within that process towards that outcome to create predictability towards that outcome. Do the same with your physical shape and the outcomes you want in relation to your physical health.
Mm-hmm.
Look at what you're eating across 7-day period, because there's nothing wrong with a burger and a wrap. I love them too. Look at my Instagram, right? There's some fantastic burgers on there. And go, what are the subtle changes I can do next week that would be an improvement on the week before?
Okay.
You don't need drastic changes, because that's why people fail. It's January, new year, new me. They go from eating absolute garbage for 2 weeks.
So are you pro or against Manjaro?
Controversial.
Unfortunately, some people who are drastically overweight, that has been influenced by their upbringing, their environment, the choices that were put in front of them as a kid. Because let's be real here, you generally eat whatever your parents give you as children. So some people are really overweight, have probably accumulated a large majority of that weight from the age of 10 to 15, and they've just always labeled themselves as big. So a lot of the damage is then done. They've naturally labeled themselves, I am an eater, I have a sweet tooth. And then they live that identity and they align their habits to that identity. Now, I'm always going to be biased and say, to fix this, of course, get a plan, get help, get support, and help you train well, move well, sleep well, drink all the stuff that we speak about. But if somebody is at such a low point and they're not an athlete and they've tried absolutely everything, they've tried the support and they're just like, I need something here to prevent me from dying, and things like diabetes that can eventually cause deeper problems. Yes, possibly consider it then.
Okay.
But if I look at the general proportion of people who are taking it, I think it's absolutely awful. And I think the consequences on someone's long-term health, not just their physical health, but their emotional health, I think will be absolutely disastrous. Because one thing no injection is ever going to change is someone's emotional patterns, beliefs, and their internal identity. So they might find short-term they've dropped weight as it has produced something chemically which stops them from wanting to eat more food. So it's sort of forced calorie deficit. However, what it hasn't changed is how someone feels about themselves and the emotional patterns and urges that cause them to overeat, drink, or both, that cause the weight gain in the first place.
Yeah.
Everyone loves the quick fix, right? Whether it's in business or with body. In order for a physical identity to stick, your emotional identity needs to be aligned to that. It really does.
Okay.
There's the emotional part. And then I feel there's also the physiological part of urges. Like, for example, if I've been very disciplined since morning in terms of my diet, in terms of, breakfast or lunch but I mean, by 4 p.m., there's this massive dip. And I was that kid growing up. I used to put 4 tablespoons of sugar in my cornflakes, which is already sweetened.
Did you have that? I did that.
I did that too. When I take, listen,
it was tolerance, right?
Delicious.
I had to keep on adding more sugar so that I could have the same effect.
Sam, I did a lot more than 4. Honestly, that's why there was absolutely zero judgment. I would have. Do you remember crunching at cornflakes or Frosties? Yeah. They were basically cornflakes with sugar.
With sugar on them.
Already.
I'd put sugar on top of
Sugar
them.
on top of that, yes.
So I get it.
And then honestly, at 4 p.m., if someone's had a birthday, you have a piece of that cake or treats to the office, and then the world just seems like a better place when it's gone into your body. If you had an omelet at that point in time, it's almost as if, what was that? It doesn't even register. You have the cake, and even though the calories might be the same, I mean, I don't know if they are the same, but there's just feeling that goes through your body as if this is exactly what the body needed. And then you're like, that was so good.
It's a feeling you are chasing in that given moment. I get it. And we've all caved to these urges.
Is that emotional or is that physiological?
That's not linear, because when we eat something, let's just say a piece of cake at 4 o'clock, and then we feel guilty afterwards.
No, I'm feeling great afterwards.
Okay, if you feel great afterwards.
I'm feeling great afterwards because I'm like, wow, I think my body needed this.
Okay,
I'm the guilty one.
So it comes down to this, and that's why I don't want to ever force my way on anybody. If you have a piece of cake at 4 o'clock, and you feel good in the moment and good afterwards, and it doesn't affect how you want to feel at the end of the day and at the end of the week or impact anyone else, keep doing it. You need to identify what is the real reason I want that piece of cake at 4 o'clock.
It's the energy dip.
Is it though? For some people,
it's the energy dip. And then afterwards,
if it's an energy dip, and I'm just, again, talking to someone who feels guilty for doing this, if it's the energy dip, there are significantly better things that you can eat for energy at 4 o'clock than a cake. Have a piece of fruit. Like, I know one can give you that sugar rush, but you can get that from fruit. All right, it doesn't maybe hit the spot as much, but it's still a sweet sensation that is going to give you a feeling that you wanted to feel before you ate it. And ultimately, it's a choice, right? Which one of the two is an investment or a cost in how I want to feel, not just in the moment, but afterwards. And for you, you said you feel great afterwards, so I'm not going to try and change that. But for Robin or anyone else who's going, I'm eating this cake and then I feel terrible, ask yourself this: is it the environment you're in that's influencing you? Okay, if we keep doing something in a certain environment at a certain time around the same people, then we need to evaluate our environment. You've got your physical environment, you've got your peer group, and you've got your social connections.
How do you deal with that? Because there's people that have a great environment, maybe not a fitness scene environment, that have bad habits, and you start to mirror those. And at times you don't want to be around that, but they're your friends. What would you do?
Again, it all comes down to what can I control, what can't I control? So if you are someone who you're in an environment of friends regularly and they don't value health as much as you, they don't value their self-image as much as you, their emotional, their physical confidence as much as you live your life in accordance to your values and how you want to live, not someone else's. Because ultimately what's going to happen if you consistently do that, where you're doing something really that you don't want to do, or eat something you don't want to eat, drink something you don't want to drink, yeah, you might have kept the peace and blended in with the fun or what others perceive as fun in that given moment. But if that made you feel terrible afterwards, it sounds ruthless, but they're not the right crowd for you.
What's one thing we can change to help support partners to be fitter and healthier?
This can be a difficult one. It's a great question. You can't force your values and beliefs and knowledge of what you know will happen when they do that thing you want them to do, right?
Just the biggest thing, the one thing that you could do without kind of begging them to change.
Having been in this scenario,
not shaming them.
Not forcing something. Look, the first thing that comes to mind, honestly, is just consistently lead by example and demonstrate by example. Let's just assume it's one of our partners and you just know you want them to move a bit more, eat a little bit better, but they're not doing it. At some point, something's going to happen that doesn't make them feel good, or just it costs them something. And I believe in that given moment, you as their significant other, if you've been consistently just being that example, they will start to explore and follow suit on a granular level. It's no different with children. I'm a new father, so I'm hardly got a degree in fatherhood. But if there's one thing I've really absorbed the last few years in the clients I really respect, and I think you're doing a great job, as in you're working hard, you're making the money, but also a great example as a healthy parent. The one message they continually have shared with me and our community is the people you love, especially your kids, they don't listen to what you say, but they'll follow what you do eventually.
Your clientele, a lot of senior executives who are now in their 40s, 50s, and 60s. How important, and males, how important is testosterone? Is it too late?
No, it's never too late. Yes, I know TRT and the hormone replacement therapies is big now. But before you go down that route, can you make some simple lifestyle changes that don't go from 0 to 100, but are an improvement on what you're currently doing? And another thing that holds people back, they're using outdated systems. What I mean by that is a lot of these people who built themselves into high power positions to run a business or leaders within a business, they're trying to train and eat the way they did in their 20s.
Yes.
Okay. And that doesn't work.
Can you still build muscle?
Yes, of course you can. Of course you can.
So much easier for men, by the way.
Yeah, it is, but even that, I just look
Women's
at
bodies
it like,
fluctuate.
It comes down to expectations. Like, you're not going to, be a...
You missed this, Kirk.
Sorry. Let me tell you this. You've got more chance of building muscle picking some weights up at 55 if you've never been in the gym than not picking weights up if you're 55 and have never been in the gym. I think I would just ask myself, what are my options, and which option is going to create more likelihood that I'm going to live with more testosterone and have more oomph in my day?
I mean, I had one more question, which was about genetics. I mean, especially where I come from, our ancestors were known for their literature, their poetry. They weren't really known for their physical strength. I mean, my wrist size, my wrists are smaller than my wife's, And
You and me both.
And
is that a thing?
yeah. So look at it, tiny, right?
That must be a man.
And if you see on my race, I mean, within the subcontinent we have certain races. They're all people with tiny limbs, and all the fat just sits around the belly. Whereas in other races within the subcontinent, they'll get fat everywhere. So does your program cater to such, genetic issues?
Of course, there is a genetic makeup that every single person has, and you do notice patterns and trends from certain cultures and different backgrounds. Absolutely. But if someone's consistent enough and they're training well enough and they're eating the right foods and they're getting the right guidance and advice, they can absolutely shift that
genetic disadvantage.
No, shift that, I suppose, identity label from that culture that person can't build muscle. I mean, I think the challenge is, say, for example, in Indian cultures in particular, is a lot of the diet is very much carbs and sugars, and especially vegetarians and stuff. It can be very hard because you're low on protein, and sweet stuff is very common, which is why obviously diabetes is so high in that part of the world. I think the role as a parent is so important. On if you have come from that culture and that bothered you, that you grew up skinny fat, for example. I think that's what you're alluding to. And you're thinking, oh my word, I grew up skinny fat and it's bothered me my whole life. But you're trying to fix that right now. One thing you might not be able to control is the genetics of your ancestors and your children. But what you can control is how you behave and what you do and how you influence your children. The reason I say that with so much certainty, like my mum and dad, right? I'm a combination from my mum and dad, and I love them dearly, but they come from a different world from me, bless them. There was no knowledge the way it was now. They're both overweight. My dad's got type 2 diabetes from poor lifestyle choices. He quit smoking, bless him, which is incredible mental strength. Problem was he didn't fix the emotional urges that were causing him to smoke. So as a result of that, when those emotional urges cropped up, you'd eat more food. And ultimately the food choices were contribution towards him having diabetes. My mum, bless her, my mum's always been very active, like my mum and my dad too, but she's had certain health issues. I mean, they've got loads of energy now, bless them, but where I'm going with that is people might look at me and see the six pack and see the body and go, yeah, but his parents, they must have been six pack athletes. My dad was up until the age of 20, bless him, but then, he had one kidney removed. So, that threw him off a little bit as well, of course, but now they're overweight and physically they're not as healthy as what I would love them to be. And that's from lifestyle habits. And look, I would say it's been totally transparent. One of the reasons I look the way I do is, I was lucky. I was good at sport from an early age. So you're in certain environments where I was training so much, and then I was at Coventry, a professional football team, and then you fell in love with the sport aspect, the mental aspect, and obviously now it's my job. So I've got a firm value on that I maybe fell into by accident, that started from my dad encouraging me to play football, right? So I've always had a value on that. And then I've had the best mentors in the world that I've inherited certain skill sets from for my own style. And I've got a business transforming people. But the reason I share that with you, if you have come from a certain culture, or even if you're not from a certain culture, but your parents were overweight, they've got certain genetics, and that's made an impact on the way you look, the way you feel, and the way your health is, you can change that. It's never too late. But also understand, if you've got children, break the pattern.
Yeah.
Break the pattern. Do you understand?
Don't be a prisoner of your genetics.
It's not just about the physical anyway. There's one thing that I'm deeply passionate about, is it's your emotional identity and how happy and content you feel emotionally. Because I've been the guy on the front cover of Men's Health, but been terribly emotionally insecure because I hadn't worked on my belief systems and my emotional well-being and my identity. So I just encourage people, check in with yourself on how you're feeling regularly.
From this episode, I want you to take one thing that you're going to implement into your daily habits. For more, be sure to follow us on our socials @ChatGIG on YouTube, Instagram, and TikTok. See you next time.